Hello, coffee lovers. Today we are here to go through the installation of the Poemia tune-up kit, the Saeco Poemia. This comes with 5 parts. Comes with your brew head gasket, the screen and screw, and your boiler spring and boiler valve. So first thing we're going to want to do is remove all the accessories so we can flip the machine over because that makes it really easy when installing a brew head gasket. So we're going to take off our water tank lid, our water tank. We have a nice pre-ground scoop in here with a basket and another gasket for that basket. And then we have our drip tray and grate. Get those out of there. And our portafilter. It's something that you'll notice to let you know that you need to install this tune-up kit is if you're pulling a shot and coffee or water is pouring over the top edge of your portafilter. That actually means that this brew head gasket is failing. It's no longer making the seal between the portafilter and the gasket. So that's one indicator that you would need to install a tune-up kit on your machine. So what we're going to do now, this has got a nice brushed stainless steel finish on the top, is we're going to put down a couple towels so we can flip this over. And if you've watched any of our other tune-up kit videos, you can see this is very common. To put something soft down to make sure you don't scratch the top of your machine. And if you've ever installed a brew head gasket with your machine upright, you'll understand why this is an advantage. Okay, so first thing you'll need is a Phillips screwdriver, and a short one's really helpful because there's not a lot of clearance in here. So the first thing we'll do is remove this screw, and when we remove this, the screw will come free obviously, and also the screen. So there we go. We'll get this out, and then we'll see our screen. Some people like to soak these and then have 2 screens on hand, which you can totally do. As you can see, this is the machine out of our showroom. This screen is pretty gunky and it's in need of a new one. Okay, now that our screen is off, we have this boiler bushing that needs to come out. And you're going to need a flathead screwdriver to do that, and we have this tool here that's really wide, but essentially all you want is the widest flathead screwdriver you can find, because as you can see, these 2 channels here on each side are very far away from each other, so you need something really wide to get to it, and that is why we have this. There's been feedback from customers too that some coins work, like quarters, anything you can find to get into those 2 channels and then to remove it. So I got this loosened, and now it's on its way out. And this piece that I'm currently unscrewing, the bushing, is not replaced in the tune-up kit. It doesn't really need to be replaced. All it's doing is housing the spring and ball valve. So you'll want to keep that close by. I'm going to leave that right there. And as you can see, we are finally to the spring and valve. And those 2 pieces are replaced in the tune-up kit. So now we have 4 out of the 5 parts removed from the machine that we're replacing. So the next thing is the brew head gasket. And this is always fun, getting these out. The only thing that's holding in a gasket is friction. It takes a little elbow grease to get them out. That's something you should keep in mind while taking it out. Now as you can see, there's a nice little, this is here to help you remove the gasket, this groove. So you should kind of start there, and then you should also use the portafilter channels in your brew head here to your advantage. There's more space there, so try to fold it that way and take it out through there. But we're just going to kind of get after it here and see what we come up with. And obviously, since we're replacing this part, we're not too worried about the condition of it after we remove it. So we're just going to work at it and get it out. You're going to find different ways at home that make it easy to get out. Sometimes I like working on the outside edge. I've heard from technicians here they like working on the inside edge. So it's kind of whatever your preference is. So I'm working on the outside edge here and on that back portafilter channel. And as you can see, I'm getting a little success here. I've got it about 1/4 of the way out now, just using this really narrow flathead screwdriver. And as you can see, there is quite a bit of coffee on this gasket. Who knows what they're doing in the showroom? That's a joke. Okay, there's our old gasket. They tend to get very brittle and dry the older they get and the more coffee that gets around them. And then they start cracking, and that's when you see the seals start to fail. So this one looked like it was in need of a replacement. Now there's a lot of coffee grounds there around the brew head. So you're going to want to get those out because it's very acidic. I just got a towel here, and there's actually still some water down there. And I might actually flip this over to get all those grounds out. Just really quick. Luckily this machine's pretty light. The coffee tends to be really acidic, like I was saying, and it will eat away at your brew head gasket. So it's just really good to get it all out while you're there. Just be pretty thorough. Okay, so now we're ready for our new brew head gasket. And just like when we removed it, we used these portafilter channels to our advantage. We're going to do the same thing here. I always find that kind of folding it like this and kind of going in it works. It's very easy. Saeco's brew head gasket for this machine, it's also the same one for the Aroma and Via Venezia. It's very specific. You don't see brew head gaskets like this very often. Okay, so let's get this in here. Get it around the channels. And you might have to use a flathead screwdriver at this stage as well. But obviously you're going to want to be a little more gentle with it because you don't want to hurt it. And the cool thing about installing a brew head gasket is you can use your portafilter as a tool to make sure you have the whole thing seated down properly. As you can see, it is obviously specific to which side needs to be going down. Your portafilter should be making contact with that ridge side. So what I'm saying is it needs to be going down this way. This brew head gasket will never work if you put it down this way. You need to see that level difference when you're installing it. Okay, so we pretty much have this brew head gasket all the way in. And like I was saying, what we're going to do now, before we flip the machine back over, is just take our portafilter, put it in place, and turn it. And we've essentially just put the brew head gasket right where it needs to be. I pushed it down a little bit. But our brew head gasket is now installed, and congratulations, because that's the hardest part of the tune-up kit. So we're good there. Now we're going to take our new spring and ball valve, put those into our bushing. And the other thing that's important about this is just as specific as the brew head gasket. So essentially, you want your valve, the silicone part of your valve, to be touching the upside of the inside of that. So I'm going to do that again. Once again, you want the valve facing down when you're installing this. You shouldn't see it once it goes in there. And I also like to put it in the bushing first. So we're here, it should be just like that, but you're going to flip this upside down and put it in. So then you should be able to push down in it right there, and I'm actually pushing down and the seal's hitting the other side. I'm going to start this I'm going to start threading it with my fingers because it's just easier that way. So I know the threading is started. It's not cross-threaded or anything, which can be easier to do on those machine threads. Now I'm going back to my flathead screwdriver here, and we're just going to tighten this in. We're just going to finger tighten it. You do not need to go any tighter than that. As soon as this stops rotating, you should stop. Okay, we're good. So there's that. Now we're ready for our new screen and screw, which is probably the easiest part of the tune-up kit. We'll put our screen down first, and as you can see, it just fits right into the brew head gasket perfectly. Those outside edges, it should sit right there just perfectly, and then our screw will hold that in place. And now we're ready to install that. And that is the entirety of the Saeco Poemia tune-up kit. And it's the same thing with this. You don't want to go too tight with this because you're just going to be making it harder next time. The brew head naturally heats up and cools down very frequently, and that can, always be a little touchy with threads. It can tend to get very tight when it sees all those temperature changes. Okay, so that's the whole tune-up kit. Let's turn this back over and just, let's remove our towels here. Turn it back over, make sure our portafilter is lining up right. And we know we're good. Let's see here. It's always interesting doing this behind the machine. There we go. That's looking good. It's a little bit to the left because it's a brand new gasket, but that is a nice newly installed tune-up kit. Like I was saying earlier, you'll know you'll need to do this if coffee is pouring over the top edges of your portafilter when you're pouring a shot, coffee or water. Other things that you'll notice is if maybe you hear your pump working a little harder, that can be because you have so much coffee residue on your screen or in your portafilter that your pump is actually working harder to get through that pressure. Or a result of that as well can be your coffee just generally tastes off. If you're not noticing a difference in taste between two different blends, that can be because you have a lot of coffee residue here and that's affecting the taste of your shot. So if you're noticing any of those things, go ahead and purchase the Saeco Poemia tune-up kit and you'll be good to go. Good luck. If you have any questions, give us a call at Seattle Coffee Gear. Thank you.